Hookah chaka, hookah, hookah, hookah chaka, hookah, hookah, hookah chaka, hookah, hookah, hookah chaka, hookah, hookah.
I can't stop this feeling deep inside of me. Girl, you just don't realize what you do to me. When you hold me in your arms so tight, you let me know everything's alright. I'm hooked on a feeling, I'm high on believing that you're in love with me.
Welcome to week 5 of the Bill Neese's Coaches Show this is Coach Bill Neese. I'm your host, Chip Hare. And before we get to this week's opponent, we've got to talk about last week's game, a complete domination on both sides of the ball. The Indians blank the Jackets 29-0 and keep the battered helmet for the second consecutive year. And it's a series, again, that the Indians have dominated just like they did on Friday night. A great win in many ways, Coach.
It was a great win. It was probably our most complete game we've played in a while on offense, on defense, and also on special teams. I think both sides, offense, defense, had good game plans going in. I think the fact that they were a dangerous football team had us on DEFCON 1 level, so to speak. The rivalry, everything involved, just was something that our players embraced during the entire week, and it's something that we're fortunate to come out on top.
There's a lot of highlights. There's a lot of keys to the win. The one thing that I know we talk about individual performances, but the one thing that to me stuck out was the way we dominated on the offense and the defensive line. We just imposed our will.
I think the trenches were very important. I agree with you on that. I think the offensive line, they run a 3-3 stack, and it's a little confusing sometimes because of the different things they can do. There's so many variations of it. And our offensive line, we had about three or four blocking schemes that we were going to use, period. Mm-hmm. And we were able to use those against anything they could throw at us, rather than trying to do a bunch of stuff. We oversimplified everything, and I think that was one of the big things that helped our offensive line. And defensive line, once the team gets down at that point, they're going to be throwing a little bit. Our defensive linemen really got their butts up in the air and their hand on the ground and came on some serious pass rush.
I know as a coach, you probably break down the key points of certain points of the game. One that stood out to me, and I think was certainly a huge part of the turnaround, the part that probably just shut their will down, was there as we were at the end of the second quarter, into the first half, we had a 4th and long, and we converted, and then the next play we go in and score. You could just see the body language for them was, we can't hold these guys 4th and long, and our guys' confidence, you could just see rose to another level.
Its momentum is such a strange deal in sports, as you all know, and on every level. And the momentum was big for us. It was big in a lot of ways. We found the theme for the week was find a way to motivate yourself. And whether or not it's the rivalry is the way to motivate, whether or not you motivate because you want the Sydney more than the Troy rivalry, is it because they beat us last year, or not last year, 2 years ago, whatever the case is. Find something that's going to motivate you. And the way that our players played, it seemed like everybody found something that was going to motivate them.
I'm glad you brought that point up, because I really noticed that when you guys came out of the locker room, there was an intensity, but there was an authenticity of that, a genuineness of we were locked in, and whatever their motivation was an individually team. We came around and we came out swinging early. We
did, and we have an interesting team in the fact that they do, they're an intense team. They're not going to be a team that's going to go out there and clap and chant and do a lot of different things, but there are certain times in our pregame, there are certain times in our practice during the week that we have opportunities to be vocal, to be enthusiastic, and those guys take advantage of it. And I think that's what's unique about these guys, that everything they do is genuine. That if they're not going to talk a whole lot, that doesn't mean that they're not necessarily going to play well. It just means that they're not a vocal group of people. Sometimes they are, or sometimes it very simply means nobody has anything to say. Let's just go play.
One of the things, if I'm a player running out of that tunnel, to see the amount of people that were at that game, because there's more people that come to that game just because they're genuinely interested in the Pickwick-Sydney rivalry. Mm-hmm. What the emotions that have to come out of that, and to know that, hey, you're out there not only just playing for your program and your school, but you're also playing for your community.
Oh yeah, and it's like that with all the rivalries. And you know, the thing that's neat is that our team has a chance to compete in those types of games. There's a lot of high school teams that, you know, there's not going to be a big crowd, or they don't have that go-to .2 game that's important for the communities and stuff like that. We have that not once but twice, and we feel very fortunate. We embrace every time it happens.
The one thing that was very noticeable, if we were to talk about X's and O's on the offensive end, is we really dominated the possession, the time of possession, and really did a great job of just getting first down after first down, and just, you know, kind of just breaking them down slowly. As I've heard you say through the years, rope-a-dope. That really, we passed the ball 3 times, I think, throughout the whole game. So we really did just run in our offensive line, and our backfield, our back guys, our runners, did a good job at finding holes.
Oh, they did. We were planning out one of our fastest running backs, Tanner Kemp, did not dress. But I think the important thing is, I told our team today at the team meeting, I said, you know, we're probably not ever going to have a game where we're going to run the ball that much and only throw 3 times. I said, but for this particular game, for this week, for this circumstance, that's what it took to win the football game. And, you know, we always tell our coaches, and our coaches, we always think the same way, and that is, we do what we have to do to win the game this week. Worry about next week. You know, yes, I know we only threw the ball 3 times, okay, but, you know, that's what the situation called for. And next week, it may call for us to throw the ball 18 times. We do what we need to do to win for that particular week. Each week is different. Each week is unique.
The one thing that we get from the Bill Nieses show every year, every week, is it's 1 week at a time, and we don't look ahead. We take about what's next.
And it isn't just within the course of a game. You know, they had a great return game, and we had been practicing, you know, their hash return all week. It was big on everybody's mind, and you know, Jackson Trombley, second kickoff, knocks it out of the end zone. Right. Well, then all of a sudden, the situation called for, because it was getting a little tight, we put Austin Burns in, not because Trombley did anything wrong, because the kid just kicked one out of the end zone, but we wanted Burns to squib one. And Burns squibbed one. We had good field position. You know, we got bad field position to them, good for us right before the half. And it's just situations like that. You know, it may not do that every week, but you just do what you do to win that particular game.
Speaking of that particular game, the next one is Vandalia Butler. So you get enough time to enjoy that one, and then the next day, film starts for Vandalia Butler. Another big game. They're very similar to us. They lost their first 2, won their last 2. They're 2-0 in the league. We're 2-0 in the league, and there's a lot to play for on Friday night.
It's going to be a massive game. It's going to be a big game. We went down there last year. Bad weather, bad this, and played as bad a ball game as we played for first half. Came out the second half, probably played as good a football game as we played. So we have to be able to look at that game, and we've spent a lot of time looking at that game. We spent a lot of time, you know, during the summer. If nobody wants to run, if everybody's tired, we came in and we watched a couple clips on that game, because they had 2 or 3 big plays that we felt shouldn't have been made because of our lack of ability to tackle somebody, our lack of good pursuit angles, our ability not to look at a defense and say, this is how this should be blocked. Okay, and we've learned from that. You know, we've learned a great deal from that film, and hopefully that is going to carry us over. And it's not necessarily a revenge type deal, because revenge only lasts for about 2 plays. We're talking about the fact that we want to get another chance, a better position to be able to make some plays.
Well, Butler, you know, we talk about rivalries, and every team that we play on our schedule is something different. But Butler has always been that team through the years, if you've even coached, starting from when you were starting to pick one in the 90s. That's always been a competitive game. It's always been a game where it meant something, and this year is no different.
Oh, no. I mean, we went for years that it was us and them for the league championship. And then we went for years it was us and Troy, you know, for the league championship. And the nice thing is we always get included in that, you know, in that little scenario as to who it is. We kind of jump in there with whoever it is. But yeah, we had great rivalries, and they've had great coaches, you know, gone through there, and their kids are very athletic, and it's always a very competitive game. So we know we have our hands full coming in Friday night.
Well, just real quickly before we get into the keys of the game. You're coming off a big emotional win, obviously, on our end. talk a little bit about what that conversation today in practice looks like as you get ready to go for the next one.
And no more Sydney, and that's a given. The thing I like about our team that we talked about earlier was the fact they don't get overly emotional sometimes, either way, one way or the other. So they're not, they were not in here Saturday morning high-fiving each other, talking about how bad they won the game and how cool they are and all this. They came in, we watched the film. If you wouldn't really know who won or if we had won or lost the game, because every Saturday is pretty much the same. Here's good, here's bad, here's what we got to change, here's what we got to do, here's what we're going to do next week, boom, boom, boom. Everybody go recover, get something to eat, and we'll see you Monday. Coaches go to work. That's how it is. And those guys will come in, and they've already have Vandalia Butler on their mind, and they're ready to go.
Well, the ebb and flows and psychology of athletics is you never want to be too high, you never be too low. You need to be right there in the middle, and it sounds to me like that's where we are mentally right now as a football team.
We are. We're in good shape. Our players understand what they have to do, and like I said, a very mature group of people. Not a whole lot of bravado type stuff, right. But there is, we still got a few characters we're going to run around out there. But generally speaking, pretty unique group.
We are going to see a good Vandalia team as we talked about. What are some of the things that we're going to see defensively from them? Defensively,
they run a blitz-orientated team. They base out of a 50, but they'll bring some different looks, different types of pressures. They like to put the pressure on the offense. I think that's the biggest thing you see when you look at their defense. Offensively, they're based almost entirely on a zone scheme. Their quarterback and their running back both have equal amounts of runs, and their yardage is about the same. And like last week, we had the number one rusher in the MVL come in. This week, we have the number one receiver in the MVL coming in. So we're looking forward to competing against him.
Well, their passing game has always been good in the last several years, and it's no different this year. Their quarterback, Young Wildcat, he has a good arm, and he has proven to make some good plays for him.
Yeah, he can run it. He does a nice job. The other dimension is he can sit back in the pocket and he can come out of the pocket, scramble, and complete some balls. So we got to hang on the other end. We got to keep the top on everything while he's scrambling around. And then on the other hand, we got to make sure that we got to get some people to come up and put him on the ground and end the play. So he's unique.
Talk a little bit about keys of the game for the Indians on Friday night.
I think that we're going to have to be able to recognize, very similar to Sydney, what the blitz pattern, what the blitz packages and blitz pattern is. We can't get frustrated that we're going to try to do too much and then not be able to handle certain pressures that they're going to present. I think along with that, we're going to have to make some big plays. If somebody's going to bring that much heat, then I think that we should then be entitled to a few big plays along the way, as compensation, so to speak, for all that pressure. I think our defense has to continue to get better in the back end with our pass defense and breaking on the ball. I think those are really the two keys. Special teams-wise, I don't know that I've ever seen anybody run a fake punt, two different fake punts in the same game. So, we have that. They've had two kickoffs ran back for touchdowns against them. They've had some big ebbs and flows in the special teams game. So maybe we can get a little bit of an edge there.
Well, I think, Coach, when you look at the rivalry and the history that the Indians and the Aviators have had, and you go into this week, it's nice to know that we are back at home again. Regardless of being homecoming or not, it's nice to be back in Alexander Stadium, and there's a comfort to that as well.
Definitely. There's a comfort. We enjoy playing here. This is our home. You don't have to get on a bus that quick. You can get home and relax a little bit, get some food, whatever. So I think this is going to be a good atmosphere for us.
Well, seniors are an important part of leadership, and in part two of the Bill Neese's Coaches Show, talking to Cameron Deal and Tayvian Elder, talk a little bit about those two guys and what they mean to our ball club.
Well, they mean a lot to our ball club. Both of those guys are seniors that have been in our program and just busted butt the entire time they've been in our program. Cameron Deal hurt his knee, had an ACL 2 years ago, worked his way back, has been in the weight room, has did everything humanly possible to get back in, and he's our long snapper. So the thing I love about that is the fact that everybody that's been in our program that's a 4-year player, I want to make sure they find some place, something they can do to get in. And it's not like we just said, okay, here, you can be our long snapper. He is the best long snapper on our team. So great. He goes down on punts. He was very close to forcing a fumble last week. We had a big scrum, and we ended up, and Jarrell came came up with the football, but Deal was right in the middle of that. So he'll snap the ball and go down there and scrap it out with everybody. So we really enjoy his intensity. And then Elder, Tayvian has been a receiver for us for the last 3-4 years, and worked his way into the rotation, always in there, jumping in on some 4 wide receiver sets. He's now returning punts for us. We found out, we had a couple guys hurt last week when Medley broke his hand. So Elder comes in and starts catching some punts. Next thing, we're like, hey, Elder, you've been, this is a great deal. So now he's giving us depth with our punt return. So again, very nice to see those guys coming in and getting their hard work paid off.
Well, those seniors, those 2 particularly that you talk about, they put the time and the effort into, and they don't have a sense of entitlement that I should be here because I'm a senior, so put me in. Mm-hmm. That's not what I get from those guys. I get, hey, I take what I earn, and I just want to help be a part of the team.
And see, that shows the type of kids they are. The fact that they love the fact that they have, in fact, got involved and stayed involved, and now they've got something out of it. So they're very appreciative of their spot, and they do everything they can to keep it.
Coach, we certainly wish you well as we roll into what will be week 5 in the 3rd league game for the Indians, as the Butler Aviators and the Piqua Indians will go head-to-head here at Alexander Stadium.
Thank you.
We will see you back here again Friday night, homecoming here at Piqua Alexander Stadium. Kickoff will be at 7 p.m. The game again will be replayed next week after the Bill Wenice's Coaches Show. Make sure you get here. Get your tickets in advance. You can get them online, or you can get them here at the athletic office or at Thomas Jewelers. For Coach Bill Nice, I'm Chip Hare. We'll see you next week. Welcome to part 2 of the Bill Nice's Coaches Show. Right now we're on the players portion. I'm going to have these guys introduce themselves and the position that they play.
Cameron Deal, wide receiver, long snapper.
Tayvian Elder, wide receiver.
Guys, first of all, congratulations on the win on Friday night. That was a big game in a lot of ways. I have to ask you as a senior, what's that like, Cameron, to come out and to that kind of a crowd, to that kind of an energy before we even get to the game? What's that like?
It's amazing. It's awesome going out in front of all those people and playing for your town and just showing what you got and taking, your week's practice and just putting it all out there for all the fans, trying to create some momentum to get a big win.
Tayvian, now you get out there and you perform the way we did perform. What was that like to not only win, but win convincingly?
It was one of the better feelings that I felt playing football here.
Yeah, I would imagine for you all the time and energy that you guys put into football, when in the off season, and to be able to get the win like you did. Words probably can't describe it, but that's probably will be a highlight. You look back now, 20 years from now, and say, hey, that was something I'll never forget. Right?
Definitely.
Yeah. Let's talk about the season in general. We're 2-2. We've won our last 2. We're 2-0 in the league. We're hard to believe we're approaching the halfway part of the season. Has this season gone fast for you? Tell me a little bit about your thoughts so far on the 2019 campaign.
I think we're taking it one game at a time. We're just trying to focus each week on each game, trying to prepare ourselves for each game each week, and just trying to come out with a win at the end.
David, we'll talk a little bit about Butler this week. You get another game. It's home. You've got a big win this week, but now you got to get ready for the next one. How much time do you really have to enjoy that win before you have to start thinking about Butler?
Not much time. It's usually we have like the rest of the night and then a little bit of the next morning. Then right on Monday we get back into it, focusing on next week, trying to get better, make improvements at all positions, and ultimately go out and get another win. So,
goals-wise, what's some of the goals, Cameron, this team has for this year?
Definitely making the playoffs. That's probably our biggest goal. And I don't know, beating Troy would be another really big goal.
But another one right now, you're in the contention for a league title. I mean, that's got to be something in there, too, that you're going to be looking at, right, Tayvian?
Yeah, we're trying to focus on just playing as good as we can, trying to win out.
I think the one-game concept is a great philosophy because it's hard there's just too much to take in to try to take everything out, do everything at once, just one game at a time. Let's talk a little about postseason for you guys. Once you graduate, what's things going? football, once high school is finished, what's some of your goals and what are some of the things you're looking to do a year from now?
My goals are just to get to college and figure out what I want to major in and just figure out the rest of my career and stuff from there. And get a good job and then, do the usual stuff.
Cameron, how about yourself? What's some of the things you're thinking about a year from now?
I'm trying to go to college for, I don't know, I really haven't decided yet on what I want to do. I kind of want to get a scholarship to play baseball, but I'll just have to see what direction it takes me.
Hey, Cameron, you talk a little bit about, your baseball. I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to bring that up. You have an opportunity to play 2 sports. How's that like for you, being able to balance that?
Oh, it's a lot. I get out of football and I go to baseball, 2 days out of the week. I'm constantly in both sports because they go all year round for me.
In preparation,
so
yeah.
I'm constantly in it.
What does playing 2 sports and playing sports, what's that do you think for you preparing for life?
It's a lot on your body. Get your body ready for your future job, if it's a hard job or if it's not a hard job.
But mentally, just being able to put up with a day in and day out grind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to explain.
But it's something that you think certainly this experience helps you.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's it like? What's it mean to be a Pickle Indian to you? What's something that you'll be able to look back and say, hey, Pickle was special to me because?
Probably because of all the pride and support that we get from the fans and all of our classmates and how they want us to do great and how Coach Neese wants us to be the best people we can. I'll never forget any of that.
Yeah. Cameron, what's something for you the idea of being a Pickle Indian, what's it mean to you?
It just gives myself a lot of pride knowing that I'm representing my town. I feel proud to be an Indian. I don't really know what else to say.
Well, you guys both represent us very well. We certainly wish you all the best the rest of this year and then certainly into your future. So good luck against the Aviators this week.
Thank you.
Guys, this will wrap up the Bill Neese's Coaches Show. Just a reminder that it is homecoming week. Kickoff here will be at 7 p.m. at Alexander Stadium. Again, next week it will follow the Bill Neese's Coaches Show here on the Indian Nation station. For our seniors, Cameron and Tayvian, I'm your host, Chip Hare. We will see you next week.